Hello and welcome to the third webinar in our Healing from Trauma series. I'd like to acknowledge the original custodians of the land on which I'm recording this webinar and the lands on which you are watching. I'd also like to pay my respects to elders past and present and welcome all Aboriginal people joining this webinar. My name is Alison. I'm a senior psychologist with the Links Training and Support Team with the Department of Communities and Justice. In this webinar, you'll learn some practical strategies for identifying and responding to kids' behaviours in out-of-home care. The information in this webinar relates to kids of all ages, from infants to teens. Please be aware that there are 4 webinars in the series, which you can find on our website. If you've not watched the first 2 webinars, please consider watching them now. Your learning will be best supported by watching all 4. Please note that I'll be talking about some topics that may be difficult. It's important to look after yourself as you watch and be aware of any feelings that arise. If needed, press pause and come back at a later time when you're feeling more able to focus. If you find any topic particularly difficult, please reach out and talk to a support person, your caseworker or manager. From the last webinar, you may remember that trauma behaviours can be understood in 4 stages: chilled, heating up, boiling, and cooling. The way kids act and experience their bodies depend upon the stage of behaviour they're in, and so should our responses. Moment-by-moment assessments can help us better understand kids' survival responses. They can be used to look for patterns in kids' behaviours and identify trauma triggers. The moment-by-moment assessment has 3 sections labelled before, during, and after. In the before section, you record how kids seem to be feeling and what they're doing before the episode. You also identify what may have triggered the behaviour. In the during section, you describe their behaviour during the episode, and in the after section, you identify their process of calming down. Our impressions of behaviour are important, but it's easy to overlook the details. Moment-by-moment assessments helps us see these details, including specifically what it is about a trigger that causes a survival response. It's best that 3 to 4 assessments are completed in different environments in order to identify clear triggers for the survival responses being displayed. A blank moment-by-moment assessment is available to download from our website. Completing moment-by-moment assessments allows us to recognise patterns in kids' behaviours. Once we've identified these patterns, the next step is to bring this information together to develop effective strategies unique to individual response patterns. Help doesn't have to be complicated. Often simple but well thought out strategies work best. Be creative when coming up with strategies. Brainstorming with the child support team can be really useful. Sharing information about kids' trauma histories is very helpful. It allows those supporting them to provide appropriate responses. When sharing information with others, we want to respect confidentiality. There are ways of sharing that don't divulge too much personal history. For example, the following information could be provided to a sports coach. Tom has had some tough things happen in his life that make it very difficult for him to manage raised voices. To support him, it may work best if you move close to him before giving instructions so you don't have to shout. We have just given some very important information about Tom without violating his confidentiality. When supporting older kids, consider discussing with them how they'd like their information shared and with whom. This conversation can help build trust and connection while giving them a sense of control. One way to summarise and share information about kids is the Priority Challenge worksheet. This worksheet helps identify triggers that lead to boiling responses in kids, ways to reduce these triggers, and ways of developing coping strategies. There are 2 sections to the worksheet. The first section is completed with information specific to a child, summarising what is known about them. This helps identify their past history of trauma, giving important clues as to what's happening now. Possible triggers are identified for current boiling behaviours, including specific emotional and behavioural responses displayed in the boiling stage. The second section uses all the information gathered in the first section to develop a priority challenge statement. This can inform understanding of a kid's behaviour and strategies to help them. It's useful to share priority challenge statements with those supporting kids as a quick overview of their behaviours, triggers, and support strategies. You'll find this worksheet on our website. Solutions are most effective when they focus on helping kids to maintain regulation, lessen triggers, and provide signals of care. This helps kids to regulate if they're heating up. When developing response strategies, it can be hard to know where to focus your attention. It can be useful to focus on the survival response that worries a kid or you the most, or the one that most interferes with their ability to function. For example, if a teen is swearing whenever the TV is turned off, but self-harming when visits with family don't occur, developing response strategies for the self-harming behaviour should take priority. Supporting kids with survival responses can have its ups and downs, but with consistent support, things will improve. Let's look at strategies that support all kids in out-of-home care. Kids' experiences of trauma are often unpredictable. This can leave them feeling particularly vulnerable when they don't have control over a situation. Because of this, kids in out-of-home care can benefit from knowing what to expect and when to expect it. Providing predictability and consistency helps kids understand what to expect in their day and helps them to maintain regulation. This means they remain in a chilled state. The more kids can maintain regulation, the more regulated they'll become over time. The brain needs time to practice staying calm. Consistency and predictability means that rules, expectations, and routines stay the same as much as possible, and that we're balanced and fair when supporting kids. Strategies to consider include clear rules and boundaries, implementing routines, and using calendars to show family visits and other important events. When kids live in predictable and consistent environments, they worry less about what will happen and begin to feel safer, therefore experiencing fewer survival responses. They build an understanding that adults are in charge in a positive way and are less likely to push boundaries because they know adults will follow through. As kids learn where limits are, there are often less arguments or attempts at bargaining. Pre-teaching is a strategy that works hand in hand with consistency and predictability. When you pre-teach, you simply describe to kids ahead of time what will happen and what you expect them to do in certain situations. This is a great strategy for kids of all ages, from preschoolers through to teens. It helps reduce worries while making expectations and plans clear. Pre-teaching is especially useful when used to help kids understand how to manage new situations. A transition, such as moving from one activity to another, or a situation where they frequently struggle to stay chilled. One of the best strategies to help create stable, healing environments for kids is for supporting adults to remain calm and neutral. But staying calm can be challenging. When supporting kids who experience trauma, it's important to be aware of your own feelings and responses. When kids are heating up, your ability to stay calm is one of the most effective responses, which will also help them become calm. This is referred to as co-regulation. Staying neutral means that you do not engage with kids in arguments or disagreements. It will help you and kids get through tough situations. Remember, even though you may not agree with kids' feelings, the feelings are theirs. It's important to validate the feelings, but not the behaviours. Say, for example, I understand you felt angry when your brother took your headphones, but remember, we don't hit. Some things you can do to remain calm and neutral include taking a few breaths, talking in a low, soft voice, thinking positive thoughts, and taking breaks as needed. It's likely that there are specific times of day or events that kids find more challenging. It's important to be aware of times when heating up is more likely. and why these times might be difficult for kids to manage. The most difficult times for kids are often during those where they lose power, choice, and control. This might be when they're told no, redirected, disciplined, or when routines and structure are missing. During the experience of trauma, kids lose their power and control. They often equate being in control with being safe. As a result, they may be triggered by experiences during which they're not in control and react with a survival response. All kids need boundaries, limits, and structure, but using punishment may increase their survival responses and make it difficult for them to build trust and connection. Time in is a helpful way to support kids during heating up and boiling. This strategy works with kids across age groups. Using time in to guide behaviours involves staying close and connected to kids when they're overwhelmed by strong feelings. Staying with them during time in supports them with emotional regulation and problem solving for next time. The first step to successfully complete time in is to stay calm and in control. You must remain regulated as co-regulation is key to its effectiveness. Next, stay close to the child. Offer the level of closeness that's okay for them. This may be a hug, sitting next to them on the lounge, or just being in the same room. Be sure to use a soothing voice. Keep it low and even. Reassure them that this will pass and they'll still feel calm again. Listen to what they are saying and feeling and let them know you understand. Finally, use praise when they calm down, no matter how long it takes. Also, praise any steps they take along the way to respond positively to you. This helps kids know what they're doing well and makes them more likely to do it again. Scaling feelings is a way of helping kids understand that any emotion can be felt or expressed on a spectrum from minimal to excessive. In some cases, expressing emotions at either end of the spectrum can be hurtful to kids and those around them. There are many ways you can encourage kids to explore their emotions. Ask them to describe their feelings and where they sit using colours, a 0 to 10 scale, a feelings thermometer, or something simple like traffic lights. You can also create your own scale with words you've agreed on to describe various stages. It's important to find something that works for kids to help them explain how much emotion they're feeling. Once you've developed a scale, you can use it to determine the level of feelings when kids are heating up and cooling. This will help you decide how to respond. You can also display a visual reminder, perhaps on the fridge, and regularly encourage kids to show you where their feelings are sitting. To shape positive behaviour in kids, it's important to set limits and use logical consequences for behaviour. Using punishments to respond to survival responses can lead to escalation of behaviour and does not support cooling. It's important to set limits when kids are calm so they're aware of these limits and able to follow them. Try to keep your directions and requests simple and ensure they clearly specify the desired behaviour. Only use rules where required. They will be most effective if developed and followed by the whole household. When reinforcing limits, be firm but fair, realistic in your expectations, and ensure they are achievable. Don't forget to use praise. Try not to punish behaviours, but rather use logical consequences. Research shows that punishment is not an effective approach for sustainable behaviour change. Your response should be as closely related to the behaviour as possible. If a kid throws a board game, a logical consequence is for them to clean up the board game with an adult support and only once they're calm. If they refuse to do their homework during homework time, a logical consequence is that watching television is delayed until the work is complete. Once the consequence is complete, you shouldn't continue to discuss the behaviour other than praising any compliance with your directions. Ongoing discussions can lead to feelings of shame, which may trigger further survival responses. As you identify kids' patterns and work to help them stay calm, you're likely to use a variety of strategies, including those we've just discussed, like predictability, pre-teaching, staying calm and neutral, being aware of emotional hotspots, timing, emotion scaling, and limit setting. Thank you for watching. There is one more webinar in the Healing from Trauma series. In this webinar, we'll explore the importance of the connection and co-regulation and identify emotional regulation strategies for each of the 4 stages of behaviour. We'll also discuss the importance of creating signals of safety to help your child feel cared for and allow them to heal from trauma. Don't forget to look for the moment-by-moment assessment and priority challenge worksheet on our website. You'll also find a range of other resources there, including all webinars in the series. If you feel you'd like more training and information on trauma after watching our webinars, you may benefit from attending face-to-face Healing from Trauma training. If you're a carer, talk to your caseworker. If you work with kids in out-of-home care, talk to your manager, internal psychologist, or therapeutic specialist. Thank you.